Hello. Hello, SAAVI family and everybody out there tuning in to this June 30th Lunch and Learn that we offer. My name is Julio Saavedra, and I am actually the services manager for the SAAVI site down in Yuma, Arizona. I am also honored to be the ESL coordinator for throughout the state for SAAVI. Um, Today, I'm just going to be sharing with you a little bit of what we did to be able to customize the English learning experience for our students. As you know, we are a fully non-visual teaching center, training center, so we teach everything non-visual, and we do implore our problem-solving skills primarily, and we do take off a little bit of some of the structured discovery. So this is all incorporated into the actual curriculum that we put together. Now this curriculum, just to give you a little bit of background, it took about 3 years for us here at SAAVI to put together, but I think it was 3 years very well spent. And I hope you like the little insights I will be sharing with you today. I hope my music isn't too loud. And so we'll go ahead and get started a little bit. So, to begin with, how many times, if you look at anybody who is learning a new language, whether it's English, Spanish, French, Italian, whatever it may be, if you look at how classrooms are set up, if it is in a classroom setting, or even if you're using one of the apps that are out there, because there's an app for everything, you'll notice that it is primarily visual. Um, we get a lot of information from our vision, and that's kind of like our go-to. It took us, in our planning stage to figure out, what we needed to do to be able to supplement for that. And it's not necessarily supplement, but it actually took us a moment of aha, where we said, you know what, we can get just as much information when we explore something non-visually. And that is one of the neat things and one of the reasons why I'm actually in this field of blindness, discovering those new ways of doing things or different way of doing things to accomplish a common goal. Um, so, for example, I have, let's say you are a new student into the United States and you are starting off learning the alphabet because you need to learn the written language at some point. So let's say your teacher just says this, okay, who can tell me what this is? See, right there, I actually held up a piece of paper with a capital letter A and a lowercase letter a right next to it in bold black marker. Now, if we were learning this in the class and learning this non-visually, you would get no feedback from this. Why? Because there was no prompting from the teacher, there was no explanation, nothing. The teacher simply does this. And then you have the whole class repeating A. And if the teacher went as far as saying A is for apple, then they would hold up maybe another picture, a picture of an apple, kind of like I just did, as you can see. So what we focus on is really being able to give a descriptive, a good explanation of what we're doing, and really being able to explain to the students what it is. Of course, you might be asking yourself, Julio, how are we going to be able to give them detail? And details, descriptive language comes in the form of adjectives primarily, if they're barely learning the language? And I will say that's a very good point. So again, I'm about to put up a paper with a drawing of an apple and with the word written underneath it, APPLE. I went as far as on the left side of the word apple at the bottom, drawing it out in Braille. Writing it out in Braille. If you notice that. So, what do we do when we can just put up a piece of paper or a drawing? So we simply use our other senses. We have our students use their other senses. We have them use smell. We have them use touch. So I will hand you an apple. And I'm holding in front here an actual apple. I will give this apple to the student. Sorry, it's not such a red apple, but it's an apple nonetheless. So they will grab it, they will touch it, they will feel it, they will match it up to whatever word they might have for it in their language, whatever concept it might bring up in their language, because culture is a big thing. We cannot assume things, especially, here in SAAVI, we are really graced with having students from all over the world come to us, from the Middle East, from Africa, from Canada, from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Brazil, from all over the place. So it's very important not to assume that they know or that they do the same things that you do on a daily basis. So again, I'm teaching you the concept of apple. I will simply hand you the apple. And again, I'm holding the apple up to this camera. And you will touch it. I'll wash it. If you want to eat it, you can taste it. I will have you taste it if you like. That way you really learn what the concept of apple is. Now, that's easy, right? I give you an apple. How are you going to teach them the concept of a pencil? I hand the student a pencil, and so on and so forth. For something as easy as that. But what about the concept of love? What about the concept of brotherhood, sisterhood, friendship? Those tend to be just a little bit more complicated, right? So we divided up our English curriculum in levels. We have 3 different levels, and we have several competencies. So here are some of the competencies. The first one, and I think it's the most obvious one, is oral communication. So that, of course, involves speaking the language and listening to language. Another competency that we help our students on is adaptive literacy. That means, being able to read. And of course, we incorporate Braille a lot, talking books into the curriculum. Another language competency is the social cultural aspect, which is kind of what I was talking about a little bit earlier. So we don't just teach you the language, we teach you why we have Thanksgiving in America, why we raise the flag, why girls have staff sometimes. So we teach you about that. We give you the background. It's not just learning the language, how to speak it, write it. It's learning the culture, especially like some of our students that we do get. They are refugees, so we really help them incorporate and mesh with the culture here in America as best as possible, or as much as they want to, because everybody has different goals. It's not necessarily my goal. It won't be the same goal that my student has. So we also incorporate life skills, which life skills would include, identifying a few being able to identify educational community resources that are out there, governmental resources, like, learning about the DS office, learning about help finding a job, which is something that we do here as well. Once you reach the end of our program at SAAVI, we incorporate good habits of mind, which is what is appropriate to bring to a classroom, what is appropriate to bring to a banquet at the National Federation of the Blind National Conference, what is appropriate, and any conference, just helping you practice good habits of mind. So those are the areas of competency, the language competency that we cover, and then we divide each one of those into 3 levels. So before I go any further, I have Scott here. He is the producer of this Facebook Live. Have there been any questions yet, Mr. Scott?
No questions, but you're doing great.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Scott. So, like I said, please feel free to ask me in anything, any that you would like to know about this. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and break down our oral communication and language competency, which is our speaking and listening. So, when a student first comes in, we do an assessment on them, and we actually do try to figure out exactly what level they are at. You'll be amazed to learn that I think I almost want to say 0 students, but I'm sure there have been some who have come in at a complete 0 percent of knowing English. And the only reason I say this is because we have had students who come in only knowing, hi, my name is, in my case, Julio. Just by them knowing that, we would not put them at a level 0. At a lower level 1, of course, but we split level 1 into 3 other categories: low, intermediate, and high. So in the level 1 for oral communication, we have a couple check boxes that we need to be able to check off. One would be to understand simple directions, instructions, personal and familiar topics. Also, be able to engage in simple spoken interactions and use familiar conversational expressions, and also present ideas in simple yet highly structured situations. Okay, so let me give you a little example of how we teach prepositions. Better yet, prepositions of location. Okay, so preposition of location, some examples of that are in, on, next to, on top of, or my favorite, adjacent. So each one of our instructors here throughout the state has a different way that they do it. But one way that I've seen in common that some teachers use is we actually have one of our teachers has a little mini doghouse or a little box made out of a little toy box, and they have a little stuffed doggy with it. So once they're at this level, to being able to teach them the prepositions, the as far as a kind of like a quiz testing where you're at, see if you remember what I taught you yesterday kind of deal, we would have the student, welcome into the classroom, sit down and say, okay, so here we have our little doghouse and our little stuffed little doggy. They would ask the student, place the dog next to the house. And they would, of course, physically grab the little stuffed doggy and put it next to the doghouse. And the same goes with, okay, now put it in. So they would place it inside. On, they would place it on it. And so on and so forth, or demonstrate to me through, etc., etc. So that's a way that I'm sharing with you that we teach prepositions of location. Um, so something very interesting that I want to get into now is how important is humor in a language. There's different levels of humor. Humor is seen differently, and there's different things that are funny in different cultures. But in the American language, how important would you feel, or would you say that humor is in the American language? I've used it already during this presentation. I mean, it might not have been funny to a lot of you, but I'm sure I promise that I tried. And I can safely say that I have not mastered it yet because it is one of the toughest things to learn uh, in the English language or as part of our curricula. I mean, the way we present humor is more of, what do you do when you're in an elevator and you recognize the person next to you and you're like, oh my gosh, this is actually the CEO of the company I'm actually here to interview for, right? So you can only gauge the person. Some are more. Of course, everybody's different. But in being able to create that small talk, once you create that small talk, you're able to present yourself basically as your genuine self as much as possible. And there's really nothing more genuine of a person than what their sense of humor is. Um, it's very interesting if you look into studies about humor and the different types of humor that everybody holds. Some people say you have a very dry humor, uh, you have a very, very bad humor, whatever it may be. There's classifications for it, or things that we say to be able to describe the different types of humor. But humor can be your friend, especially when you're trying to convey your true self, being genuine. When you come off as genuine, it's always a big plus when applying for a job interview, um, which interviewing and job readiness is also a part of our SAAVI training that we do here, that we help our students with. So I won't say any jokes because that's just too directly humor. But I hope you can pick up on the little pieces here and there where I do try. Okay. So now I want to, so that I just give you a little bit of insight on how we actually teach uh, different parts of speech, how we, incorporate the TPR, total body responses, by touching, grabbing, smelling. Once a student is at the level high enough to be able to teach them friendship, um, that can be conveyed through a hug or, again, depending on your culture, or through a handshake, or it depends, right? So we do tend to use a TPR and the Socratic method as well, and also immersion to a certain degree. Now, when we were putting this curriculum together, deciding if we were going to use interpreters or not was a big question. We do use interpreters. We use them right at the beginning to get a few of the basic concepts, really, really basic, really core concepts as much as we can. So where we get the student to the level where they can kind of sort of piece together their ideas. So once they're at a medium to higher level one, according to our scale here that we have, um, that's when we start to scale back the use of the interpreter. And the interpreter and the instructor really do work hand in hand. The interpreter and the instructor have to work hand in hand because that is they're giving out each other information about the student and how much they're really interpreting, and also the instructor can ask the interpreter, okay, so for today, I only want you to clarify one word. Out of everything that I say, if the student looks to the right, indicating that they need an interpretation, just interpret or clarify it by using one word. And the student will know, of course, the student is prompted, they know that this is going to be happening. So that causes them to start using whatever vocabulary they have learned at the moment, and so that they can actually piece whatever I said they can pick up together and put together whatever concept that it is that, or question or statement or exclamation that I gave them, and then able to respond accordingly, whether it's by performing an action or, or simply giving me an answer, a verbal answer. So yeah, we do start to scale back the use of interpreters, and it gets to the point where they're not yet at a level two. Remember, we have three levels, and we usually split each level into three, um, where they're just fully immersed, and they need to figure it out, because they've gotten the basics down, and they're fully immersed. Now, the way that we approach this is we don't say, okay, today we're going to be learning prepositions, or today we're going to be learning the past participle. We don't do that. We set our curriculum up as thematic units. So, what do I mean by a thematic unit? By a thematic unit, I mean that we say today we're going, or our next thematic unit overall is going to be family. And this is where we introduce, nouns, pronouns, to identify family, knowing the family members in a family, mother, father, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandparents, having them perform simple tasks like grandmother cooks or mother is working. And within there, we are incorporating the use of simple sentence structures, um, which actually I noticed some of our instructors using a very neat way to be able to again incorporate the full um, concept of being tactile, right? So let's say you have a sentence with three words. I am happy. So the instructor would actually give them three things. And here I'm holding up a pink skinny highlighter, a white glue stick, and a black marker. So the student can choose whatever one of these items to represent each of the words. So I would be this pink highlighter, am would be the glue stick, and happy would be the marker. So whenever the teacher asks, so how do you feel today? And they would respond, I have had different responses, I happy, I is happy. It's like, no, 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 no. I happy, that's only two of the three items that you have, right? And they have them in their hand, they have it on their desk, and they're feeling it. It's like, that's true. So you missed the word. So what is that word that you missed? And they, work it off your hand and say, am. That's true. So to say a complete sentence, you would say, I am happy. Don't forget all the words that you need to use. And we incorporate it in this tactile kind of form. So that's actually a very, very neat way, that we teach our students, help our students learn. So back to thematic units, the family. Um, Another thematic unit that we use is going outside, outside or my backyard or a doctor's office, uh, if we see a student that comes in that, has some medical issues and goes to doctor's office quite frequently, we'll grab the thematic unit. You know what? Let's implement the doctor's office and teach them whatever concepts we are teaching them at the moment, but using the doctor's office as our background. That is the thematic unit. We will use that, and we don't tell you, okay, so today you learned today you learned this and that, nouns and verbs. No, today you learned what goes or what language you would use in a doctor's office. And of course, at the end, or sometimes even during the lesson when they're learning, we send them, we email them, we record for them, the vocabulary they'll be learning and all the technical stuff we would call it, the structured things. We send it to them so they have it, but they are learning it in a more natural, organic kind of way by doing so. And like I said, we do incorporate Braille from the beginning with our students. We also incorporate a lot of vocabulary that we know is used in the other disciplines that SAAVI teaches, like orientation and mobility, which is, cane travel, which is in their career exploration class, which is found in their Braille class. We do tend to teach them a lot of that vocabulary first, incorporate it into the thematic unit, whatever it may be, and help them that way so that they can be learning English and doing the rest of their curriculum at the same time, as as much as it's possible. So that way the student doesn't, have to, wait too long before learning their core um, skills at our training center. So I'm holding up here a soft bag in the shape of a banana. It's yellow. One side of it has the name of one of our instructors, Bethany. But it's a bananagrams bag. And those of you who are not familiar with bananagrams, it comes with little tiles with letters on them, one letter per tile. And each tile is about maybe a half inch by half inch square. Sorry about that. Half inch by half inch size. So we do use this bananagrams to help with our education. It's just another one of our tools. So I'm going to move the camera down here. I don't know if you can see this, but I went ahead and spelled out the word with the tiles. I spelled out SAAVI, SAAVI. So that's visual, correct? But there are bananagrams that we use with Braille on them. We also use, those letters that you put up on your fridge, those magnet letters. They're 3D, they're tactile, right? So we use those letters as well. At all of our offices, we actually have a lot of what we call manipulatives, what we use to be able to give hand to students so that they can feel, touch, learn, smell, taste if they need to be able to learn the concept that we're teaching them or the word that we're teaching them. We have examples, we have toy cars, we have bricks that connect together. They're about half inch by half inch as well, squares that have raised letters on them along with the braille on it as well. So we're able to form words, form sentences. It's very fun when we're learning prefixes or suffixes because I actually have, I've actually had students just make up words, taking a root word and like Monday and being able to add a suffix to make up their own word, like Mondaycracy, which is just a crazy Monday according to the student who invented that word. So we have fun with the language. So it's just not learning the words and the concept, but it's learning the root of it and how you can actually play with the language and know when you're hearing a word that is fake or a word that is actually true, and that you're not just hearing things. Um, so yeah, so that's pretty much what I have to share with you guys today about ESL, about how we teach it at SAAVI, and the concepts, the curriculum behind it, and the levels. Our students do get assessed every month. We do have a report that we send out to see, how they progress and what areas they need. And the assessment period at the beginning is important because if you come in already knowing some concepts, some words, have some vocabulary, we do not want to reteach it to you uh, because research shows that someone who's been trying to learn English has gone to that English 101 class, or sorry, that ESL class, that level one class at least 4 times, and they've heard the same thing over and over again. Hi, my name is Julio. where is the library, and your ABCs, etc., and so on. So we tend to break them past that, past their comfort zone, and actually start learning new concepts. So we do tell our students, if ever you feel uncomfortable, or if you're feeling nervous, or if you're feeling stressed out about your ESL assignment, or oh, I just don't get this concept, it's okay, because it just means that you are learning. Be scared when you are too comfortable and you're just not learning anything new anymore. So always push yourselves, you know, healthy stress, and you learn new concepts. Any questions?
No, but someone wants to know who is Bethany?
Oh, Bethany. Bethany is one of our instructors here at the Yuma site. She teaches ESL, and she also actually teaches academics. So if you come on board and part of your goal involves going to college or getting your GED, she's the instructor to help you with that.
All right, that's it. There's no questions after that.
All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time. I hope it was you enjoyed this lunch and learn, a little insight on what we do, and have a great day.